Among the most intriguing stories in the Bible, few are as dramatic as that of the Edomites. They were not just a neighboring nation to Israel. They were direct descendants of Esau, Jacob's brother. What could have been a relationship of alliance, instead became centuries of rivalry, betrayal, and hatred. On page after page of scripture, Edom appears as a constant shadow, sometimes refusing help, sometimes celebrating Israel's downfall, sometimes standing under the judgment of the prophets. Today, we will explore the origin of this people, uncover their historical conflicts, and discover what the prophecies say about their final destiny. The story of Edom cannot be told without Esau. In Rebekah's womb, there was already struggle. Genesis 25 describes the twins fighting before birth, and God declares that two nations are within her. Esau, the elder, is born red and hairy, hence the name Edom, red. Jacob, the younger, grabs his brother's heel, a sign of the rivalry to come. The conflict takes shape when Esau sells his birthright for a bowl of stew. To biblical tradition, this was more than an impulsive exchange. It was despising the spiritual blessing. What was momentary hunger for Esau became destiny for his descendants. Edom would carry the mark of this act. A strong people, but disconnected from divine promise. The descendants of Esau settled in the mountains of Seir, south of Canaan. This land was harsh and rocky, but strategically located. It controlled vital trade routes between Egypt and Mesopotamia. The most iconic site is Petra, the red city carved into stone. Though its monumental form came later, Petra symbolizes Edom's spirit, dwelling in the heights, in the clefts of rock, believing themselves unreachable. Geographically, Edom was a natural fortress, with cliffs making invasion nearly impossible. This geography shaped their mentality. A proud people, confident in their defenses, often hostile to outsiders. The Book of Numbers records one of the most telling moments. Israel, freshly freed from Egypt, asks to pass through Edom. They did not seek war, only safe passage. But Edom refused and came out armed against their brother. For Israel, this refusal was more than political. It was personal. The brother who could have stretched out his hand chose instead to raise his sword. Thus, family resentment became national hostility. During the monarchy, Edom was a recurring enemy. Saul fought them, David subdued them, and placed garrisons in their land. Solomon maintained control, but after his death, Edom rebelled. The peak of tension came under King Joram, when Edom gained independence. In every generation, the relationship deteriorated further. Edom was not content to be a neighbor. It wanted to resist, challenge, and surpass Judah. When the Babylonians invaded Jerusalem, Edom not only rejoiced but joined in the destruction. Psalm 137 preserves their cry, tear it down to its foundations. Obadiah accuses Edom of looting Judah's wealth and capturing fugitives to hand them over. This betrayal left a deep wound in biblical memory. Edom did not merely refuse help, they celebrated their brother's pain and profited from it. It was the climax of a relationship forged in resentment. No other nation receives as many specific judgments as Edom. Isaiah 34 describes its land turned into desolation, inhabited by wild creatures. Jeremiah 49 speaks of perpetual ruins. Amos condemns their unrelenting anger, but the sharpest voice is Obadiah. In just 21 verses, the prophet pronounces the verdict. Edom's pride would be brought low. Their trust in rock fortresses would prove useless. Their joy at Israel's suffering would be judged. For the prophets, Edom becomes the symbol of the arrogant enemy who resists God's plan. After repeated defeats, Edom lost its original land to the Nabateans, and was pushed into southern Judah. There, they became known as Edomians. During the Maccabean period, they were forced into conversion to Judaism. In the New Testament, the most notorious heir of this line was Herod the Great, the Idumean king, who tried to kill the infant Jesus. The conflict between Esau and Jacob, begun in the womb, resurfaces in the persecution of the Messiah. The rivalry seemed to echo across centuries, even into the incarnation of Christ. According to Scripture, Edom's end would be devastating. Unlike other nations that, after judgment, still receive promises of restoration, Edom is portrayed as utter desolation. Isaiah describes its land burning forever. Malachi calls it the wicked land. And in Revelation, many scholars see Edom as symbolic of all nations rising against God and his people. Thus, Edom's destiny transcends one nation. It becomes the paradigm of divine judgment against human pride and hatred of Israel. The story of the Edomites is not just about a people of the past. It is a mirror. It shows how grudges can become systems of hatred, How arrogance blinds. How betrayal cuts deepest when it comes from a brother. Edom reminds us that dwelling in high rocks means nothing if the heart is proud. Celebrating another's fall leads only to judgment. In the end, the story of Esau and Jacob challenges us to choose, to feed resentment, or to seek reconciliation. For while Edom vanished from history, the promise made to Jacob remains alive to this day. If you want to keep uncovering forgotten stories of the Bible and discover how they reveal God's justice and redemption, subscribe and stay with us. There are many more mysteries to uncover. God bless your life.